And welcome back to our coverage of ONS 2017. We're here with Uri Elzer with Intel. And Uri, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me today.
Well, thanks for being here. So I had mapped out some questions for you before we got on stage here, but I'm sort of going to sidestep all of those for a second. Sure. We talked for a few minutes before we started this interview, and you brought something up that was of interest. There are three components of what could or could not make a telco successful in 2017. VNF, virtual network functions, orchestration, MANO, and infrastructure. Right. I wanted to get your assessment on those three areas, but from the perspective of technical, business, and financial.
Sure.
So start wherever you want to start.
Sure. Thanks. This is an excellent question. So what we think the industry really could benefit from, this is true for this year as well as for any other year, is a holistic view of how we make forward progress for the success of network function virtualization. The three components you cited, the VNFs are the workload. Virtual machines or containers or microservices or cloud ready, any way you want to shape them, this is good. Orchestration has the task of taking that application and mapping them down to the infrastructure. We need to keep the infrastructure running at high enough utilization so that we keep the CapEx and OpEx where we would like them to be, so that as an industry, we are competitive. In part of that holistic conversation and faced with the different pace innovation is happening in hardware and software, we see the industry looking at this the following ways. Going from where we were before, where everything was tightly coupled, SDN is a good example of where we decided to decouple hardware from software. When we talk NFV, actually NFV and SDN go hand in glove, they come together. What we need to do is to allow them to coexist such that each of them is successful even though they have different pace. What we are suggesting is that we create some language that allows the application to express its needs to the orchestration as well as to the infrastructure. The little way to explain that is to say, you want to make your flight in time. Would you care if I give you today a horse and a carriage, or if I would give you a sport car? I think you would have an answer. So what is needed is metadata that allows the code, the application, in whatever way it is packaged, to express whatever specific services it needs. Some don't care. They shouldn't be burdened. Some care a lot. We want to give them the opportunity to express that in a way that keeps the pace of innovation as it exists.
So say I'm a small player, I create a virtual network function, everything in my stack relatively, works well together, I've done my due diligence, and I present that to an operator, and the operator says, not so fast. You're not even close to us accepting that VNF, even though everything in your stack works well, but you have the integration part of this part of the process.
Correct.
Explain that part, the integration part.
Yes, excellent. You are touching on one of the really red-hot problems in the industry that we are trying to help solve, and that is the problem of VNF onboarding and certification. I'm serving as the vice chair architecture of the OpenO community, where what we introduced into the mix for the first time is, as part of this holistic approach, is that we want to deal with the VNF problem, not just with the orchestration problem. The problem for the VNF vendors today is that they are dealing with many variances, many variables, as well as the operators. So I need to deal with the changes in the operating system, the driver, the hypervisor, the SDN solutions, the orchestration solutions, and so on and so forth. And the operator has to test my workload, my VNF, with all of those. But the guy next door has a different stack. So I need to repeat the same exact testing. And, I just discovered and fixed the bug. We need to start the process again. What ends up happening on the business side for these guys, from the first day a VNF vendor walks in the door to the day I could actually deploy that in production, we are talking not minutes, not hours, not days, not weeks, we are talking months. That is not good for anyone. What happens to the VNF vendor? They have to actually package their VNF with an engineer, wrap an engineer around it, put him on an airplane, send him to where this needs to be deployed to handhold the customer. That means that 30 to 50% of their cycles are used to do this rather to innovate and move the industry faster. So this is a major bottleneck, and everybody wants to do it their way. But talking to all the operators, we believe that there is enough common ground so we could strike an industry agreement that is helped by that metadata that I mentioned to you, because the metadata is how I communicate to the orchestration as well as to the operator, here is what I need. So we could automate many parts of this, accelerate, shorten the time to market for everybody, and eliminate the human being from the process so it runs cloud speed financially as well as from technical point of view.
Uri, you're talking about a common language, a data model,
Right.
so the VNFs can be launched or deployed and integrated much, much faster.
Yes.
Seems like a long learning curve or cycle for this to happen. But the way you're delivering this message, it sounds like this is something that's going to happen rather quickly. Which one is it?
Well, if I was only a prophet. So we actually are at the point that we have already demonstrated just the end of February at Mobile World Congress, together with good partners. VMware was a public event in their booth. We had VNF vendors who had no prior support for Tosca coming into the booth, and within 2 hours using open source tools, ARIA, that are contributed by Gigaspaces, we got a basic blueprint, which is the word that is used in order to describe how you put your workload, as long with that metadata together. That was created in less than 2 hours. So there are tools in the industry. Part of the work we are doing here and in the broader industry, and part of the reason we are participating in multiple Mano communities, is to get the industry together. I would say that at this point in time, I'm more optimistic than few months ago when we started to push the industry in that direction. I think everybody recognizes the need. I think what you'll see the rest of the year is multiple events where the industry is going to show we are working on this problem together. Linux Foundation, OPNFV, the different Mano communities, as well as commercial vendors. There are disagreements in the industry, but I think the industry recognizes that we need to come together on this to simply help everybody create a common platform on top of which we could all innovate and make NFV successful.
Well, it's clear that new technologies are more times than not driven by clear business cases. Obviously, virtual network functions and deploying them quickly has a business case behind it. So it's an interesting space for you to be in from a financial, business, and technical perspective.
Sure, and there is, as an example, in the talk I delivered here, we were talking about one business case as an example, very popular business case right now, what's called the virtual CPE, customer premise equipment, meaning that if you're an enterprise or residential, and that was also the first use case of OpenO, if you want to connect your home or your business to the network, and that enables hybrid cloud, or simply enables you to use the cloud or connect to another data center, whatever you want to do with it. We are changing the way this is done. It used to be done with a fixed appliance that we'll have to ship out, a truck rollout with a technician to your place. And every time there is a problem, the same person has to show up. We are moving to a model that is way more flexible. You see in this, so we put a box, but we could remote control the software that goes in it. We could upgrade it in real time. We don't need to send a technician anymore. You are looking at up to 90% saving on the hardware, 39% saving on controlling that, 49% saving for small, medium business that normally, you know, when you pick up the phone and some support person needs to help you post-deployment. This is delivering big time to all of these guys. The more efficient we all become, as a customer, we see the services coming faster to our houses or to our businesses. This is a very clear business case. The same goes for 5G, for IoT. All of those building blocks are necessity before these technologies can be successful.
Well, again, a business case and a value for the carrier side and also the vendor side. So
Right,
again,
and for the customers, everybody benefits.
good. Uri, it was good talking to you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks
very
for
much
the
for your time.
opportunity.
Appreciate it. Yeah. And for all of our coverage here at ONS 2017, you can go to tinow.org. So long.